Hello everyone, my name is Katie. I am the Introverted Reader, and as promised, I am giving you let me just move you back a little bit. I'm going to give you a book recommendations video. So I did a video similar to this a while ago, like books that I like that I think you should read. So I'll try and find that and I'll link it down below for you if you haven't watched it already. I did mention a couple like staple like booktube favorites in that video, but these are ones that I don't really see that much in on booktube. Maybe some of them are and I just don't pay attention, but these are books that I read last year and obviously these last few months this year that I love and adore and that you all need to read. So let's hydrate and talk about some books. So some honorable mentions would be obviously anything that Simon James Green has ever written or will ever write again, ever. His books are all on a top shelf up there. Obviously, Heart of Iron by Ashley Poston. Read it, read it, read it. Anything that Carrie Maniscalco is ever going to write, ever, read it. So, none of these books are in any order whatsoever, but I'm going to just pick them. I'm just going to grab them and talk to you about them. So the first three I'm going to talk about are all by the same author, and this is an author that I have always known of, but I only ever really got into her books until last year, which to be honest is really sad. And that is Juno Dawson. So here I have This Book is Gay, What's the Tea, and The Gender Games. Now, the reason why I picked out these three is because I think that these three are super important reads for young people to read. Obviously, I am older and I only read these for the first time. I read that last year, read that this year, read that last year. Yeah, I really do believe that every young person in school, if you are in school right now, if you're a teenager in school right now, or if you work in a school, I really do think that you should talk to your teachers or your librarian and get these in your library, because these, see, each one of the three of these books is so informative. Like, I remember I was reading, when did The Gender Games come out? Hold on, let me... this came out in 2017, but like there's still so much in here, so much good laid out, well-written information that even I didn't know about, you know, when it comes to it just says the problem with men and women from someone who has been both. And it's really just her laying out everything about her own gender identity, because it's sort of like part memoir, part sort of her like laying out all the information as to what the gender spectrum really is and what transgender is, although that's more detailed in this one. And as for This Book is Gay, she really just like lays out all the letters LGBTQ, and she's like, L means lesbian, G is gay, B is bisexual, T is transgender, Q is for queer. And she also talks about asexuality in here, gender fluidity, non-binary, and she talks more about the non-binary spectrum in here. So if you want to know more about that, read this. But like all three of these, so informative, so well out, so well written. And yeah, if you work in a school, get these in your library. I'm telling you, tell your students to read them, because yeah, if I had this when I was in school, would have had a lot better, I'll tell you that. The next one I want to talk about is a young adult thriller. And that's A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I gave this 5 stars. I thought it was so... It gets darker as it goes on, because it's basically about this old cold case in a small town in England. Everyone thinks that this girl was murdered by her boyfriend, but our main character, Pip, has other ideas. She believes that this is not true. She doesn't believe that the boy that supposedly killed his girlfriend is the guilty one. She believes he's innocent. So her, along with his brother, sort of try to figure out what really happened that night. And a lot of things get uncovered. You know, small towns have very, very dark secrets. And I'm really glad I don't live in a small town, I'll tell you that much. But yeah, I gave each one of this trilogy 5 stars. It's this one. The second one is Good Girl, Bad Blood. and the third one is As Good as Dead. So obviously look up trigger warnings. There's a lot of trigger warnings for this series, so look them up before you read them. But all in all, fantastic. Read them. The next one I want to talk about is Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas. I have a review of this on my channel, so if you want to watch that, I'll leave it linked down below. I go into more in depth, but it's basically about this trans boy called Yadriel, whose family don't really take him and his gender identity seriously. And his family come from like this very long line of people who can sort of communicate with the dead, and that they can help the dead pass on to the other side. And he tries to communicate with a certain ghost, but then he ends up pulling the wrong one. This other ghost appears before him, one that he was not calling to. And this other ghost doesn't fully believe that he's dead. And they kind of go on an adventure together to try and find out what really happened. And again, secrets get uncovered, and it's so beautifully written. It's gorgeous. So yeah, absolutely read this. Support Aidan Thomas. They are so wonderful as an author and a person. So yeah, support them. And you can read Lost in the Neverwoods as well. It's somewhere behind me. Where is it? Oh yeah, it's up there. It's next to House in the Cerulean Sea. It's like behind Jack. So, but read this and also read Lost in the Neverwoods. Lost in the Neverwoods wasn't the 5-star that Cemetery Boys was, but still, read both of them. They're amazing. Another trilogy I want to talk about is the Devabad Trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty. This is the first one, City of Brass. The second one is Kingdom of Copper. And the third one is Empire of Gold. I haven't finished Empire of Gold yet, but once I do, I know already I'm going to give that 5 stars. Like, I just know. This is so wonderful. It's partly set in not modern day. It's partly set in Cairo, and then and then we go to another place because our character does something bad. She is this girl called Nari. She's a thief living in Cairo, and then she does something real bad. And her tricks basically land her on her ass, and she ends up going on the run. So there's a lot more to it than that, but that's really all I can tell you without spoiling too much. But like, read this. Like, the lack of synopsis I suppose I just gave you was all I knew about it. So like, I went into this pretty much blind. But yeah, like seriously, read this trilogy. It's wonderful. It's so well written, and yeah, I know I'm gonna cry when I finish Empire of Gold. Cinderella is Dead by Kaylin Barron is a book that I read last year. I loved it. You can see the tabs. It's about this girl called Sophia, and she lives in this town where basically every year all the girls, young women, are all gathered up, brought to the prince's castle, and all the men basically stand in front of them and basically pick them all out to be their brides. She doesn't want that because she's in love with her best friend. But then things go awry, and she ends up running into one of Cinderella's last living descendants, who basically tells her everything you've known is a lie and we need to smash the patriarchy. Are you with me? And she's like, yes, absolutely. So yeah, read this book. It's beautiful. Look at this cover. Gorgeous. And look at all these tabs. Like, read this book. It's so wonderful. I can't remember whether or not I reviewed it on my channel or not. If I have done, I'll leave it down below, along with my Cemetery Boys review. But like, read this book. So well written, so gorgeous, and yeah, we need more books like that in the world, honestly. The next book I want to talk about is The Henna Wars by Adiba Jagardar. I read this last year. It's basically about these two girls that compete in this sort of henna tattoo sort of like business war, because they have to come up with an idea for their business class to come up with a product and sell it. And our main girl is hold on, let me get this right. She's from Bangladesh, I know that, and she wants to create a henna business. But then this other girl, Flavia, who is not of the same race that she is, she's black / Portuguese, if I remember correctly, and she comes up with the henna idea as well. And obviously our main girl, Nishad, is just like, no, you can't do that. And then they end up butting heads, but at the same time Nishat has a crush on Flavia. So she's like a lot of conflicting emotions. And I love this book. I read it last year, like I said. I had it finished in like less than a week. It's so well written and it's so beautifully written. Like, unapologetic about your culture is more of what I want to see in books, especially like modern contemporary ones, because yeah, like, show off, like, be proud of yourself and your culture, like, go for it. And yeah. And also our main girl in the chat is a lesbian, and it starts off with her coming out as gay to her parents, and she has a lot of like she deals a lot whenever she comes out to her parents. And I believe there is a trigger warning. Oh yeah. This book contains instances of racism, homophobia, bullying, and a character being outed. So be wary of that before you read this, but still, it's gorgeous. Read it. Okay, the next one I want to talk about is one that I don't really see a lot of people talking about on this platform, The Sound of Stars by Alicia Dow. I read this, like I said, last year, I think, for like, it was the Disney readathon, and this book is fantastic. This is so well written. Basically, aliens have come down to Earth. They've taken over. And they decided that, like, books are illegal. But our main girl hides a whole bunch of books. And she kind of does this sort of underground business where people hand her notes. And she basically gives people books right under the aliens' noses. And, oh, it's just... It's beautiful. The romance in here, so gorgeous, so sweet. And she has another book out called The Kindred. So yeah, I need to get my hands on that as well. But like, see this right here, beautiful, celebrating art and books and music. And like I said, the romance in here, it's so sweet. So yeah, read this book. I think I might reread it soon. But I need to get Alicia's other one because it sounds amazing as well. Now, going from the young adult to the adult. The Lightning Struck Heart series by TJ Klune. This is the first book in his Tales from Verenia series. This is very adult. This is very gay. This is very smutty. There's a lot of innuendos. But basically, it's about this boy called Sam. And he is a wizard's apprentice. Basically, he has magic and he's training all his life to take over from the previous wizard, to assist the king. And he has a huge crush on this lovely knight called Ryan. His name is Ryan. Yes, Sir Ryan Foxheart. He has a crush on Ryan. But see, the thing is, Ryan is the King to Be's boyfriend. And yeah, it's a little bit awkward. And he has a best friend called Gary, who is a unicorn, who is the greatest. Who is just so wonderful. I love them so much. But like, if you haven't read this series, read it, read it, read it. I know a lot of people think of TJ Klune and House in the Cerulean Sea, but like, read this series as well. You have to read his like self-published stuff as well, especially this, because I've never laughed so hard while reading a book series. And yeah, like, I love this story so much. I love these characters. No one talks about this series. Like, read this, like, read it. I originally read it on my Kindle, but now I have physical copies of them, and I'm just like, I want to reread these again, like, which I seriously think I might do. The next book I want to talk about, Felix Ever After by Case and Calendar. I have a review of this on my channel, so I'll leave that link down below too. Lots of links down below. About a trans boy called Felix, and he goes to this art school. He's struggling not just with his identity, but like with the fact that he's going to be leaving school soon and he doesn't really know what to do with his life. And so that's part of the story, but the main story is the major transphobia that he faces in his school. Somebody is blackmailing him. He has a feeling he knows who it is, so he kind of concocts this like plot to like try and undermine this person. And yeah, just goes from there. And like, you need to read this book because, again, gorgeous. And if Case and Calendar ever writes another book like this again, I'm definitely 100% gonna read it. Like, they're beautiful. Like, look at my boy. Look at him. Isn't he beautiful? Anyway, read Felix Ever After. Read it. The next one I want to talk about, Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Nyan. This is a sapphic fantasy story about this girl who is basically taken in to be a concubine for a king. but she ends up falling in love with one of the other so-called concubines that the king has floating around. And yeah, it basically just goes from there. Everybody's in different casts. There's Paper, Moon, and what else? Hold on. I know the first one is called Paper. I know there's one called Moon. Let me see. Oh yeah, Paper cast, Steel cast, and Moon cast. Yes, I was right. So Paper is you're fully human, nothing demonic about you. Steel cast is half demon, half human, and Moon is full-blown demon. And at the beginning of this book, there are like content warnings. There's like a lovely author's note, and she leaves behind like different numbers. Rape Crisis, National Domestic Violence Helpline, Gallup National LGBT plus Abuse Helpline, and Childline. And I really do recommend that you read the author's note that comes in these books because, gorgeous. Anyway, read this. I recently received the third book in this series today. I don't know when I'm gonna get to read it, but I hope I get to read it soon. And yeah, I'm so in love with this series. These two girls, like Leah and Ren, have my heart and my soul. They're my sweet baby girls, and I love them. The next one I want to talk about is one that pretty much changed my life, but I feel like I don't talk about it enough. And it's Let's Talk About Love by Claire Kahn. This is a story about a girl called Alice who basically realizes that she is asexual and sort of is slowly coming to terms with that because her girlfriend breaks up with her over it. And then she meets this boy who she starts to fall for, but then at the same time wrestling with the fact that she is asexual, and she's like, how is he going to react and all this. And I genuinely don't think I would be able to sit here and say, my name is Katie and I am an asexual, without having read this book, without having read Alice's story, without having, realizing that like everything she was feeling, I was feeling as well. And yeah, I love and adore this book. Claire Kahn is also a fan of Shiny, so she definitely gets my vote because she oh my gosh, she mentioned them in her acknowledgements. She said, Shiny, I found you while I was suffering through one of the greatest depressions of my life. I've said before that 2016 tried to eat me alive, but you were one of the reasons I made it out. Sometimes holding on to small precious moments of happiness were all I had while I tried to make it through life 1 day, 1 hour at a time. I've no shame in admitting you gave me many of those moments. Like, that is what Shiny did for me. On top of that, you wrote a character that I relate to so much, with being asexual and, and dealing with your identity, but at the same time, you're a shovel? Yes, queen. Yes. So this book changed my life. Read this. Read this book. It's beautiful. And the last book that I'm going to talk about, which you're probably so sick and tired of me talking about, is this. The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. Read this. It's fantastic. I've talked about it enough. But this, along with Heart of Iron, which I'm just going to grab and lift down. See these? Favorite books ever. Read them. Read them now. I'm not kidding. Okay? Okay, we're good. Let me put Heart of Iron back. Okay, so those are all the books I want to talk about. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will leave the other recommendations video that I made down below, along with my review for Cemetery Boys and my review for, what's the other one? Felix Ever After, and any other reviews on any of these books that I have, I will leave linked down below. Also down below is my Twitter and Instagram. Please follow me there. I would love to get to know more of you on those platforms. So yeah. So is there a book out there that changed your life? That's what I want to know. Let's Talk About Love did that for me. What book changed your life? Let me know. So yeah, subscribe if you haven't already, ring the bell, and I'll see you guys in my next video on Saturday. I don't know what it's going to be, but there will be a video on Saturday, God willing. Anyway, see ya!